But being an Animorph is not always danger in battle. There are other times when the powers we possess can be useful, even fun. And on a nice Wednesday afternoon after school, I was at the mall with the others, doing just that, having fun. And we weren't at the usual everyday mall. This was the new, massive mega mall they'd built across town. The mega mall. The mega mall. Okay, so this city is 2 hours away from a major military base, has a theme park, horse racing, 2 malls, and only 1 car wash? The Animorphs don't need to tell us where they live, because at this rate of growth, the only city big enough to qualify will be Shanghai, China.
That we all know, it's called Superbook. It shows us all the places that we want to go and look. Superbook!
Hey, YouTube increased its time limit, which means longer reviews, and who knows, with news of the first 2 Animorph books getting reprinted in 2011, I might just go back and do some director's cuts of some of the previous reviews. Now, with 8 more minutes of bitching about Cassie. Nah, I probably won't. Our book opens with, oh great, are we doing this again? I thought the series finally matured away from the whole opening chapter hijinks that have nothing to do with the rest of the story thing. So our book opens at the Mega Mall, where Cassie has talked to Jake, Rachel, and Marco into morphing the parrots used as mascots outside of a rainforest-themed restaurant. Well, this is actually an issue of customers abusing the parrots and not the actual company. Cassie has no problem bringing her wrath down upon small businesses trying to get ahead. Take it from Dealing Dan Hawk. If your business involves an animal, no matter how well you treat it, you're dead, you hear? So the Animorphs morph parrot and say insulting things to the customers, or as insulting as you get in kids' books. Things like making fun of toupees and telling people they suck. If this was real life, it'd be all, "Ark! You're a fucking shithead, cunt bucket! Ark!" So Cassie finishes taking one more step in destroying the economy, and the Animorphs split up. On the way out of the Mega Mall, Marco and Jake run into Eric King, the millennia-old robot disguised as a teenage boy. Wait. Immortal, unnatural people disguised as high schoolers. Holy crap! Kay Applegate came this close to writing Twilight. Anyway, this is the first instance of the Chi relaying information to the rest of the Animorphs. It seems that the Yeerks have constructed an underwater base off the coast of the fictional Royan Island, and somehow Visor 1 is involved in some super-secret project. The return of Visor 1, who, remember, has Marco's mother as a host body, naturally upsets Marco, but he tries his best to keep it bottled up. This book is very much an emotional journey for Marco, and it'd be almost foolish for me to try and map it out, all of it, but, though I'll try to sum it up in the post-book follow-up. In the meantime, here's a large sample. It was a terrible thing when my mom died, or at least seemed to die. But as awful as death is, at least there's an end involved. You know what has happened. It makes sense. An awful kind of sense, but sense. You meet other people who have lost mothers or fathers. You turn on TV and see stories about people who have lost parents or brothers or sisters. You read it in books, in newspapers. The counselors at school have a category for you, and they tell you things that are supposed to help. You hate it, but you belong to a group of people like yourself. But what group is there for people whose mother isn't dead, but is a slave to an alien presence in her head? What group do I belong to when I realize that what looks like my mother is actually someone who would kill me without hesitation? I guess it's what Jake feels every time he sits down to dinner with Tom. I guess he feels the same way I do. Only Jake and I don't talk about that kind of stuff. Jake's my best friend, but he's my best friend because I'm me, you know? Because I'm funny and smart, and I'd back him up any time, any place. I mean, what am I supposed to do? I'm me, Marco, not some touchy-feely, share your feelings with the group kind of person. I don't share feelings. I make people laugh. I have a picture of my mom next to my bed. I look at it every night before I go to bed. I can never decide what I want to see when I look at it. I don't know if I see the mother I lost or the mother I want to rescue somehow. I don't know anymore. I construct little fantasies in my head of how I'll get her away from the Yeerks, and I'll keep her locked up for 3 days until the Yeerk in her head dies from the lack of Chondrona rays, and she'll be my mom again. But then what, Marco? I ask myself. The Yeerks won't take it lying down. You just can't starve Visser 1 to death and take her host body and live happily ever after. We'd be hunted. We'd be hunted for as long as there is a Yeerk left alive on planet Earth. And if the Yeerks ever did catch up with my mom and dad and me, they'd know I was an Animorph. And then they'd figure it all out, and the others would be done for. Jake, Rachel, Cassie, Tobias, Axe. I am way too young to deal with this kind of stuff, I yelled into my pillow. I always find it interesting that Marco challenges Tobias in terms of who has the most emotionally charged books. So yeah, underwater Yeerks. The Chi believe this is connected with the Yeerks' invasion of the Lyrans, psychic frog people from outer space. Really, psychic. Axe informs the rest of the Animorphs that the Lyrans can read any mind within a certain radius, which makes it impossible for the Yeerks to trick them. However, if the Yeerks did manage to take over the Lyrans, then the Animorphs would be pretty much screwed, as a Lyran would be able to see through their morphs and identify them as human instead of Andalite bandits. Naturally, this puts the investigation of the underwater base on the top of their priority list. Problem 1. Tobias doesn't have a morph for underwater. Solution. Take him to the gardens and have him acquire a dolphin morph. Problem 2. Tobias is being an insufferable little bitch about this. Solution. Funnel, length of plastic tubing, bleach. There's usually 2 schools of opinions on Tobias. One that he's a well-written, emotionally based character, and the other is that he's an emo git. And I think the reason for that is that he is in fact both. Throughout the series, Tobias seems to switch between the 2 modes between books, kind of a weird Jekyll-Hyde thing going on, where Dr. Jekyll is a torn soul trying to persevere, while Mr. Hyde is a whiny shithead. This book is the first time we really see Tobias as Mr. Hyde, because he gets all defensive and crappy and annoying about having to morph a dolphin. Yeah, I get it. Tobias is used to the air, and going underwater may be an uncomfortable experience for him. But grow some fucking balls, man. It's even made worse when you compare to Marco's own fears of going into the water. A. Marco can't swim. B. They're going to a secret enemy base that may host his enslaved mother. C. The first time he morphed dolphin, he was literally bitten in half by a shark. And you don't see Marco being a big crybaby about it. Tobias goes to the gardens and gets the dolphin. Though, oddly enough, the dolphin doesn't go into a trance like the rest of the Animorphs they've acquired. One might think this is set up for something for a future book, but no, it's just a random breaking of the book's established morphing rules for no real reason. That seems to happen a lot to Tobias. So the Animorphs morph dolphin, or in Axe's case a shark, and head down to the base. It's hidden by a hologram, but the dolphin's echolocation manages to find it with no problem. What is a problem is the small army of hammerhead sharks that immediately attack them. And this ain't no ordinary school of sharks, as they are both choreographed and don't show any signs of feeding frenzy when the sharks and the Animorphs start fighting and draw blood. Eventually the Animorphs are surrounded, but Marco gets an idea. "Surface!" I yelled. "What?" "Sharks don't jump," I said. "Sharks do not jump."
Holy shit!
Good idea. So the Animorphs manage to escape the sharks, and as they leave the vicinity of the underwater base, they pass by a Yeerk submarine, half of which is completely transparent for no real reason other than for Marco to get a good look at Visser 1. The Animorphs regroup in Cassie's barn and try to put the pieces together. Axe, after studying Hammerhead biology for a little bit, concludes that the shark's skull structure prevents them from being infested by Yeerks. So these sharks are more likely trained by some alien means as opposed to being controlled. With these facts, the best plan the Animorphs can come up with is to morph hammerhead sharks themselves, as the Yeerk-trained hammerheads might not attack their own species. Of course, there's a matter of getting hammerhead morphs. Oh, hey, a new aquarium opening in town, and they happen to have a hammerhead exhibit!
Well, how convenient.
I do the whole one car wash thing again, but I got enough running gags as it is. So, under the cover of night, the Animorphs fly into the open-air aquarium and morph out, including Axe going back to Andalite form, but are quickly spotted by security guards, a few of whom are controllers, and the chase is on! You got him, Captain? The guard called out nervously. Yeah! There's some kids with him! Forget the kids. We get kids breaking in all the time. They're irrelevant. It's the Andalite we want. Oh yeah, the kids who happen to break in at the same time as the Andalite, and are running away with the Andalite, and are in no way surprised by the presence of an Andalite, are irrelevant. Dude, you deserve to get decapitated by Visitor 3. So the Animorphs run into one of these shark tube things, and get cornered, and the only option is for Axe to cut through the plastic tube and flood it. There's a really tense scene where Marco gets face to face with a hammerhead shark, but he manages to acquire it, as do the rest of the Animorphs, and they manage to escape.